Welcome to the Databrew Guides. In this short demo, we'll cover the overall flow of the anomalies and errors. The detailed steps are available on our GitHub repo at the Guides Anomalies and Errors section. The data cleaning process is as shown in this diagram. Once the data has been received from the ground and it's in our Databrew database, we have an alerts registry, which is basically a set of rules and checks which flag any data points that are outside the norms. Once these data points are flagged, they are shown on the app as alerts. Once you log in the alerts tab, that's where we list them. There are two types of alerts that you will see. There is errors marked in red, and there are anomalies. An anomaly is something that could potentially be a problem, but it might not be. An error, on the other hand, is something that is definitely a problem and requires an update to be fixed or to be resolved. The site data managers are expected to come through and review the alerts raised and investigate and let us know what the resolution should be. To do this, select the data you want to correct, click Submit Response, and then provide the response details. This basically is what the resolution should be. Then you would say who is resolving. But this, we prefer to use an email address because it's unique and easy to look up. The method of resolution, it can either be like going to the household or by phone. Because it is an error, it has to be one of the two. Then the date. And then once this is provided, clicking Submit Response sends that data and it's saved into our database. At this point, the next step in the cleaning process is the modification script. So our alerts registry did this step. The site data managers have done this step. Now the next step is for the modification. We have two phases in the modification. The first phase is manual, and it requires for the user to come on this dashboard, download the list of alerts with corrections. For now, you'll download everything and filter on your machine. And so once you choose to download, you have an Excel worksheet like I do. And in this worksheet, there's three things they need to add. You have the resolution category, the action, and the corrective steps. As an aside, once we save this information in our database, currently in the database itself, this is what is stored, what is marked here in black as in the corrections table. What is not in the initial save is the category and the action. This is because these 2 points rely on the resolution response detail that has been provided to us. So this phase requires that the Databrew team downloads that, and we add the category and the action. So these two, the category and the action, they are both predetermined variables in terms of there is a set of references that is provided that helps us know for an issue that is a strange WID, these are the kind of actions that work for it. So you include one for each. So that for now, the easiest way to note is that the category is dependent on the kind of error or anomaly incident that was raised. Then you add the category and the resolution action, and then the corrective steps. So in this instance, the corrective steps you need are, one is to update the WID, and then for my anomaly, it has been triaged into household is too young, update DOB, and this is the anticipated query that shall be run on our database to fix that. As that has been done and complete, it is recommended and strongly recommended for our peer to review the corrective steps that are set out for each of these anomalies. Once that is done, the next phase is we need to now update the corrections table so that we have the information as complete. Remember, the values in black we stored immediately, except for the done and done by. Immediately the submit response was pressed on the app, but the last two, the resolution category and action, we need to update manually. The same thing with the done and done by. However, they're at different points in time. So to update our resolutions category and resolution action you've just provided on the worksheet, you using your favorite interface to your database, you run the update query, and then as you can, these instructions are described fully in the documentation here. And once you have done the update, the next step is to check whether the correction steps already existed in the database. To do this, you'll check whether that category and action already have a preset corrective step using a query similar to this. In my case, I don't have one. If you do not have one, you should then insert the query that you came up with here in this step. Like for instance, in my case, I should now save this update set mini census into the correct preset steps. The caveat here is that once on the worksheet you have the full and the full query that will be executed on your SQL database. However, for the preset steps, because it's not going to be restricted to one, it's not for one error or anomaly, but it's for an entire category action group, you want to use a bit of abstraction, which is why while on my worksheet, my query shows update with the table name, the values for the DOB that I want to change, and the instance ID that I'm going to be affecting. When it is time for me to save that corrective step into our preset DB, I am using a query that has placeholders. That's just something to note. So in this case, since I didn't have one of these, I'm going to save one. Now I now have my corrective steps in the DB. I can find it, and they are matching the category and action that we've just resolved to. Now that we have that information, we want to run the R side of the code. And in this case, we start with retrieving the corrections that are in the database. And for us to do this, retrieve the corrections, you run the R code for collecting it, for reading the table. Again, in your RStudio. So in this instance, I have my corrections that need to be worked on. Then once I have a correction entry, the next step is I need to retrieve the pre-step details for for me to have that value available in my R instance. And to do that, I run something similar to this query. So my variable is called corrections here, not correction step. So I'll just change it to corrections. Right. Now we want to get our preset step details. So mine is corrections, so I've changed it to look like corrections. And then so now we have our preset step details. And once you have our preset step details, we don't have a specific function at this moment, so we need to prepare these variables listed here, and then we can run the steps. So in this instance, the anomaly ID, it's going to be from the corrections. The correction ID, we already have it, just to make it the email. If this is Joe. The preset correction steps ID. This is from our preset step details. We've just queried that. And then our correction steps list. This is also from our preset query.